is CTV News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Adrienne South. There's been another shakeup at Queen's Park. Another aide to the Ford government is out of a job. Peter Fenwick is gone from his role as Strategic Transformation Advisor. This comes after reports he too had ties to Dean French, the Premier's former Chief of Staff. Members of the opposition are calling for the Integrity Commissioner to take action. With more, here's CTV's Colin DeMello. A homeless encampment in the heart of downtown London is drawing negative attention to London's overdose prevention site. But the region's medical officer of health says the facility is not to blame for people sleeping and lingering around its rear entrance. CTV's Daryl Newcomb explains how the situation is renewing concern for neighbors of the proposed permanent site on York Street. A man charged in the killing of his fiancée was handed a 10-year jail sentence on Thursday. The victim's family was in court for sentencing in Goderich, still consumed by grief over a senseless tragedy. CTV's Sean Irvin reports.
CTV News with Adrienne South.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. One person has suffered life-threatening injuries following a crash north of the city. OPP say a car traveling southbound on Highbury near 9 Mile Road went to pass another vehicle when it slammed into one traveling northbound. It happened around 3:30 this afternoon. Welcome back. American warplanes were about to launch and Navy ships were in position, all poised for a military strike against Iran. But just minutes before the first shots were to be fired, the U.S. president abruptly called it off. CTV's Tom Walters has the details. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Adrienne South. An accused sex trafficker will no longer have to answer to his victims or to the law. This morning, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead of an apparent suicide. And as CTV's Tom Walters reports, his death does not just leave questions unanswered, it also raises new ones. A controversial anti-abortion film that opened at Silver City in Masonville Place tonight drew both praise and condemnation. The movie Unplanned depicts the story of an abortion clinic director who converts to the other side of the issue, becoming a champion of the pro-life movement. About 40 demonstrators were on hand to protest the screening, some calling it propaganda, while some pro-life supporters said the film depicted reality. Here's a sample of what was said. It was a year ago. Shots rang out in the city of Fredericton. 2 police officers were killed in the line of duty responding to the shooting that also left 2 civilians dead. 1 year later, they're gathering to remember the victims. With more, here's CTV's Kate Walker. Thousands of university students are moving back to London this weekend, but this school year comes with new consequences aimed at ending next month's fake homecoming party on Broughdale Avenue. CTV's Daryl Newcomb visited students and their parents moving into houses on the infamous street to ask if any of City Hall or Western University's actions will curb the notorious party. Labor strife is looming at one of Ontario's largest electricity producers. With more on the potential impact, here's CTV's Scott Miller. An alarming rise of gun violence in Toronto has many calling for tougher gun laws in the country. But some lawmakers argue it's not a matter of gun control, but rather it's the justice system that needs to be reformed. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has the details. Canada's main stock index finished in the black ahead of the long weekend, while markets south of the border were mixed. In Toronto, the TSX gained 58 points, and in New York, the Dow added 41, but the Nasdaq lost 11. The Canadian dollar lost a tenth of a cent, and on commodity markets, gold fell more than $7 an ounce, while oil lost $1.61 a barrel. Despite use of the R word just about everywhere you turn, the Canadian economy continues to impress. Statistics Canada says the economy grew by 3.7% in the second quarter. That's well past the modest rebound that had been predicted. Gains were seen across several sectors, including energy, farm and fishing products, and housing investment. The boost marks Canada's strongest 3-month stretch of growth in 2 years. Now, Russia has its own fighter jet technology, but that's not the competition Vladimir Putin was focused on today. Instead, he made a red carpet appearance at an annual hockey tournament that didn't quite go as planned. Putin took a victory lap after he scored 8 goals in the game when he was suddenly tripped up along the glass. There were no penalties on the play, and he got up unfazed to continue his moment of glory. 2 players with ties to London were picked on day 1 of the NHL entry draft.
Carolina Hurricanes select from the Barrie Colts of the Ontario Hockey League, Ryan Suzuki.
Londoner Ryan Suzuki was the first area player taken in the NHL draft when the Hurricanes grabbed him with the 28th pick in the first round. Ryan follows in the footsteps of his older brother Nick, who was taken 13th overall by Las Vegas 2 years ago. Knights forward Connor McMichael was taken 25th overall by the Washington Capitals. As for Suzuki, he was lost for words on draft night, but excited to be headed to North Carolina. Well, some might describe them as homely, hideous, and horrid, but that's just what the judges are looking for at the world's ugliest dog contest. ABC's Romina Pugapuga has the canines capturing the spotlight.